All right, so let's talk about CHW Code of Ethics. And so before we jump into code ethics, we need to understand the difference between ethics and laws. So ethics are moral principles that guide behavior, focusing on what is right or what is wrong based on values, integrities, and professional responsibilities. Ethics are often shaped by cultural, professional, and personal beliefs, as well as standards set by organizations. Ethical principles can extend beyond legal requirements, demanding a higher level of accountability and professionalism. And then laws are formal rules and regulations that are enforced by government institutions. They define acceptable and unacceptable actions and establish consequences for violations. Unlike ethics, which can vary by individual or culture, laws are universal within a jurisdiction and must be followed. And so when we look at the difference between the two, ethics is more guidance of your moral principles and which guide your behavior, and then laws are enforced by legal authorities. Who enforces it? Ethics tend to be more self-regulated and organizationally enforced, and then laws are enforced by government institutions. The scope of ethics are pretty broad and they really can exceed legal requirements, while laws are very specific with clear legal boundaries. And flexibilities, ethics can vary based on on the person or professional values, but then laws are standard and uniform within a jurisdiction. And some examples is a CHW should always respect patient confidentiality, even if legally allowed to share certain information. Laws would be for HIPAA legally restricts the sharing of patient health information without consent. And so CHWs have their own code of ethics, and it is based on and supported by the core values adopted by the American Association of Community Health Workers. It provides a framework for community health workers, supervisors, and employers of community health workers to discuss ethical issues facing the profession. It's based upon commonly understood principles that apply to all professionals within the health and social service field. It does not address all ethical issues facing community health workers, and the absence of a rule does not imply that there is no ethical obligation present. So it doesn't break down each nuance that a community health care worker would experience. And as professionals, community health workers are encouraged to reflect on the ethical obligations that they have to the community that they serve and to share these reflections with others. And so when we break down the CHW Code of Ethics, there are four overarching articles or sections of codes of ethics, and in which within each of these articles and sections are sub sections or objectives. And so Article 1, it's responsibilities in the delivery of care. Article 2 is promotion of equitable relationships. Article 3 is interaction with other service providers, and Article 4 is professional rights and responsibilities. So when we think about what exactly are responsibilities and delivery of care, CHWs are responsible for maintaining professional ethical conduct and quality care in their service to individuals and communities. And in doing that, they're required to practice honesty, confidentiality, scope of ability and training, quality of care. They're to referral to appropriate services, and also they have legal obligations. So when we think about honesty, it's about communicating openly and truthfully about available services, their roles, and the benefits and limitations of care. Confidentiality. CHWs are respected to respect and protect the privacy of individuals, families, and communities they serve by following confidentiality policies and laws. Also, the scope of ability and training. So CHWs should be transparent about their qualification skills or the qualification skills and limitation, avoiding misrepresentation of their expertise. Remember, if you are unable to do something or untrained to do something, you should not do it. It doesn't matter if people have the expectation for you to do it. You have to be honest and be like, no, I can't do that. And then also quality care. CHWs must strive for high quality service delivery, continuously improving their knowledge and skills through training and education. and referral to appropriate services. CHWs need to be able to recognize when something exceeds their ability to help out the client. So anything that exceeds their scope of practice, they need to be able to refer out to the appropriate services. And then legal obligations. CHWs are required to follow laws and regulations, including mandatory reporting of harm or abuse, prioritizing legal and ethical responsibilities over personal loyalties. And so when we think about confidentiality in CHW practice, confidentiality is key to building trust between CHWs and clients. A client will not trust you if they're sharing personal experiences, or maybe something happens while you're working with the client and then you go and share it with someone else. They would not trust you. They would not feel comfortable with you. They would not be vulnerable and open up to you. And that is so key to the work that CHWs do, is that trust between the clients. So it applies before, during, and after services to ensure a safe and supportive environment. Um, there is a HIPAA compliance where HIPAA stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It is a federal law that protects the privacy and security of health information. CHWs must follow HIPAA guidelines when handling client records, ensuring that personal health information is not disclosed without consent unless legally required. Employers may have additional confidentiality policies beyond HIPAA that CHWs must follow, but minimum, CHWs must follow HIPAA because that is a federal law. And there are some exceptions to confidentiality, which may vary between states. Confidentiality must be broken when there is a threat to self-harm. So someone said that they're going to, threat to self-harm or others. So someone said that they were going to harm themselves or harm someone else. A CHW is responsible to report out. Also, too, if they witness or they are aware of child abuse, that's either neglect, physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, they must report out. Similarly, to when it comes to elderly abuse as well. So some best practices when it comes to confidentiality is to inform clients about their confidentiality and its limits up front. Secure records and follow HIPAA and state laws. Report concerns only to appropriate authorities, and then seek supervision if unsure about confidentiality issues. Here's an example of a confidentiality agreement that you can share out with a client, or a supervisor or agency might require you to sign a confidentiality statement as well. But here's just an example of one. The next article of the Code of Ethics is promotion of equitable relationships. So CHWs promote equity and respect within their communities, recognizing the value of diverse cultural experiences and advocating for justice. And a part of this section are cultural humility, maintaining the trust of the community, respect for human rights, anti-discrimination, and client relationships. So cultural humility, CHW should demonstrate respect for diverse. All right, so reversing back to cultural humility, CHW should demonstrate respect for diverse cultural backgrounds and advocate for policies that support culturally appropriate services. Also, to maintain the trust of the community. So CHWs must provide the trust placed in them by their communities and avoid actions that could damage that trust. Sorry. CHWs must protect the trust placed in them by their communities and avoid actions that could damage their trust. Respect human rights. So CHW should promote self-determination, so equity and fairness, ensuring the dignity and rights of all individuals. CHWs must also practice anti-discrimination. So CHWs should not discriminate based on race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, age, religion, social status, disabilities, or immigration status. So even though you may decide you want to work with a special population, you may be placed with another population, or within that population, you may experience things that you were not aware of was a part of that population. So you have to be open to the diversity of that special population. Also, client relationships. CHWs must establish and maintain professional boundaries with clients, avoiding dual relationships that could compromise ethical service delivery. Article 3 is interactions with other service providers. So CHWs work in collaboration with other health and social service providers to improve community well-being. So cooperation, conduct, and self-presentation falls under this. So when we talk about cooperation, it's CHW should prioritize client well-being above personal and professional disagreement, ensuring effective collaboration. When it comes to conduct, CHWs must promote integrity in service delivery and report unethical behavior. And then self-presentation, CHWs should accurately represent their training and qualifications when working with other professionals and community members. So when we talk about integrity, integrity means acting with honesty, fairness, and strong moral principles, even when no one is watching. It involves staying true to ethical standards, being accountable for one's action, and making decisions that prioritize trust, respect, and professionalism. In the CHD profession, integrity means practicing honesty, keeping confidentiality, being accountable, practicing fairness, and also professionalism. CHWs must uphold integrity in their work by ensuring ethical and professional service delivery. So, acting with honesty and fairness, maintaining professional boundaries, reporting unethical behavior such as discrimination, harassment, and violation of confidentiality. If a CHW witnesses unethical conduct, they should follow organizational policies to report it to the appropriate authorities like a supervisor, HR, or a regulatory agency while ensuring client and community safety. Article 4 is about professional rights and responsibilities. CHWs uphold the integrity of their profession and continuously advocate for their role in public health. So, in this area, we have continued education, advocacy for change in law and policy, enhancing community capacity, wellness and safety, loyalty to the profession, advocacy for the profession, and recognition of others. So continuing education, once again, CHWs must participate in lifelong learning, continuing to improve themselves. What you learned 5 years ago may not be relevant to what you learn today. They also need to be advocate for change in law and policies. So CHWs must promote social justice, public health, and better care for their communities. And also they need to make sure that they're enhancing the community capacity. So meaning that CHWs help communities build self-sufficiency by promoting health education, leadership, and access to resources. Remember, the goal of the work that CHWs do is not to have the community to be forever dependent on them. It's really to have them become self-sufficient, be able to do things on their own. They also need to practice wellness and safety. So CHW should always prioritize their physical, mental, emotional well-being while maintaining safe environments for themselves and their clients. Loyalty to profession. So CHW should uphold the integrity of the profession and support fellow CHWs in their work. Advocacy for the profession. CHW should to participate in local, state, and national organizations that promote the CHW profession and its contribution to public health. Recognition to others. CHW should acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of colleagues, community members, and organizations that contribute to health and well-being. When we talk about self-sufficiency, this means empowering individuals and communities to meet their own needs without constant reliance on outside help. So in the context of community health workers, what does it look like to build self-sufficiency? So providing clients with health knowledge, really teaching people how to manage their own health. Skill development, helping individuals learn and practice skills. Access resources, being able to connect communities to the resources that they need, and also community leadership, encouraging the people who they serve to participate and take an active role in decision making. So by equipping people with knowledge, skills, and support, CHWs help reduce dependency on external aid and foster long-term health stability and empowerment within communities. There are many ethical challenges that CHWs may face, such community health workers often encounter ethical dilemmas in their work. Some common challenges include confidentiality dilemmas. So CHWs must maintain client privacy, but some situations may require them to break that confidentiality. For example, a client shares they are experiencing abuse or planning self harm, requiring a mandatory report. The solution could be a CHW could inform clients about the confidentiality limit upfront and follow legal and ethical reporting protocols. Also, two dual relationships. So sometimes CHWs serve communities where they have personal ties, leading to potential conflicts of interest. So, for example, a CHW providing health services to a family member or close friend may struggle to maintain professional boundaries. So, by setting clear boundaries when necessary, or the CHW may need to recognize that, we're too close, so I can't really treat you. I need to refer you to another professional, another CHW to handle your case. Also, too, CHWs may be challenged with biases and discriminations. So, CHWs must treat all clients fairly, regardless of personal beliefs, race, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. So, for example, CHW's personal views on substance use may unconsciously affect how they support a client struggling with addiction. So a solution would be engaging in self-reflection, cultural humility, and bias training to provide unbiased, respectful care. At the end of the day, when you are met with something that you may be morally conflicted with, you either pass the client on to another professional, or you stick to the book. What does the book say? What does your training say? Not your personal belief, but what does your training say? And if you rely on your training, it will help you through some of these biases and discriminations that you may experience. And then, so when handling ethical challenges, always follow the CHW code of ethics and organizational policies. Seek supervision or guidance when facing difficult ethical dilemmas, and prioritize client dignity, equity, and well-being in all decision making.